Hello, folks. I am Rodney A. Brooks, and welcome to RodneyABrooks.com. We're today welcoming a special guest, Jennifer Belmont Jennings, um, Trust and Estate Attorney at MGD Law in St. Louis, Missouri. Now, and I say special guest because Jennifer is both an attorney and a certified financial planner. And she was selected on the 40 under 40 list, the St. Louis Business Journal. Hello, Jennifer. Are there some qualities that you want to look for when you're trying to decide who's going to be executor?
I mean, being responsible is important. Someone who takes that role seriously. It's not always the firstborn child, contrary to what everybody thinks. I mean, I am a classic firstborn. And I do watch this. I'm totally side noting, and you can include this because it's funny. But there's this guy on Instagram I follow who does like the first child, middle child, and like third child, and he recreates each of the way that how they are and respond to all these situations. It's really funny. And so a lot of times you do have a situation where maybe the firstborn is the one who is the big rules follower, and they're gonna make sure all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted. And if that's the case, I see that a lot. But I think, you want to look for that. You want to think about family harmony. That's very important too. And, I don't know that there's much else beyond just somebody who's responsible, who's family harmony, and who's going to be looking out for your best interest. When you have a corporate company do it, they're going to be a little stricter about following the laws and, protecting themselves to make sure they're doing everything the right way because they don't want to get sued. So I think that's really just the responsibility and who's committed to doing it and what's the best way to do it to preserve that family harmony.
Okay, and so my last question is is you know, do most people wait until they're like in their 50s to do estate planning? When should people start? When do you recommend that people actually have an estate plan in place?
With all of this, the earlier the better. It's the same with financial planning, right? So the longer you wait, the more problematic and the harder it is, the bigger mess that you can create, and the more expensive of a mess it is to clean up. At a minimum, everyone should have beneficiaries and contingent beneficiaries. I've seen cases where like the primary beneficiary died and then nobody ever updated it. You should have your beneficiaries on all your accounts listed, the way that you want. You should have your house. I think most states, I don't know if there one that isn't, like, can have a beneficiary deed, a transfer on death deed that you can record that makes sure that your house can pass, more easily. At a minimum, that is an important component of the estate plan that everyone can do, and it's pretty much free. I mean, the deed, I think it's like $15 to record a deed, and you might have to have a lawyer do it. I don't know. And that you should have a lawyer do it. That is another really big no-no. Do not do estate planning yourself. I know everyone thinks AI is great, but there are lawyers getting in trouble right now for submitting briefs with fake case citations because AI like made them up, as support for legal arguments. A computer does not know you well enough to do this. I'm not saying that there are not some things and vehicles out there that exist that if it's between doing nothing and that you might not be better off. I'm not going to say that that's not the case. I just know that I've seen a lot of the do-it-yourself stuff, and it's always not good because there's things that you don't know and the computer doesn't know and they don't know to ask. So don't do this stuff yourself. But I think it's important to make sure you at a minimum do the planning with having your beneficiaries in place. And then you certainly need something when you have a child, right? Because you've got to establish a guardian. But the earlier you start, the better. There is no reason why when you are just starting your new job, you shouldn't talk to a lawyer and see what you need. When you are 18, you should have a financial power of attorney and a healthcare declaration. Parents can do that for their kids when they go to college, because, you know, if your child has a health crisis across the country, that doctor's not going to talk to you, you know, anymore, because your child's over 18. So like 18, you should have something in place. When you start working, though, you want to talk to a lawyer if you have assets about what you need. Maybe a trust isn't right for you at that time, but you can at least have the basics put in place. Waiting until your 50s. Plenty of people die before they're in their 50s or 60s. Like, they get into an accident, they get cancer, like, things happen. So the sooner you start, the better. I am just a big advocate of that. And the same with like financial planning and not waiting. You know, I mean, you know, you write about this all the time. The longer you wait, the more it costs you to try to catch up. Catching up is not the method to go about things. And if you wait too long, I think one of the nice things when you work with a tax person and a estate planning attorney and a financial person, you are more organized, right? You are sort of forced to keep a list of where everything is and how it's titled. And you have people checking in to make sure things, you know, and that somebody knows where to go, like that I know where to go find these documents or who to talk to. I think when you start younger and you don't have as much stuff, it's pretty easy to get organized. And then as you add things and you grow, you're just adding to an already organized plan. So I would not delay.
Okay, and I have another last question. So, you know, so because you know, you did talk about our financial plan. So finally, let's put the estate plan in perspective with the overall financial plan. Okay, how much of a part of the financial plan is the estate plan, and how do they work together?
It's very important because you're putting a financial plan together and you have all these assets, but where are they going to go when you die? How are you going to be taken care of if you become incapacitated? What's the, you know, how are your children going to be taken care of if something happens to you? So as you're building that financial plan and you're accumulating money and you're putting it away and you're investing it and you're saving for retirement, your estate plan complements that. That's why we want to know, we want lists of assets. We want to know how things are titled. We want to send you out the door and make sure things are titled appropriately and your trust is funded. And so it's a team. You know, I'm a really big advocate of outsourcing. When your day job, most people's day job is not tax, finance, and legal stuff. And you have your lawyer and your tax person and your financial advisor, and they should all be working together because everything each one of them does touches something that somebody else does. And so regular communication is key, and it's all complementary and very important. And your financial planner, usually they're the ones that are bringing you that up. A lot of times people go to the financial person first before they've come to the lawyer, and the financial person says, do you have an estate plan? And when that answer is no, they're going to give out some names and encourage you to go do that. Because if your money's going to just end up in a big probate mess, you know, that was kind of a waste.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. Appreciate the time. We've talked to Jennifer Belmont Jennings, a trust and estate attorney at MGD Law in St. Louis. Thank you very much for talking to us today.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. Hope you have a good rest of the week.
Thank you. You too.